All we have to do is receive that gift by faith. But in another sense, it does cost us everything to do that. And we know how the world hates the followers of Christ. We know how the devil fights dirty. We know how the flesh resists the spirit. Jesus told us to count the cost, and what it ultimately costs us is our lives. He says here, whosoever will save his life, who will hold on to his life, he's going to lose it. But whosoever is willing to lose his life, to die to self, to deny the flesh, to turn from the world, to surrender our wills to him, he calls on us to lose our lives for Christ's sake in the Gospels, and then he says that then we will save it. He's the only king to whom you surrender in order to win. And he warns that whosoever will save his life, whosoever selfishly refuses to surrender his life to Christ, to commit his life to Christ, to give his life to Christ, will face a no-win situation. But those who surrender their lives to him cannot lose. You know, the Apostle Paul, he perfectly illustrates this. When God found the Apostle Paul, when God knew where he was, but when he introduced himself to the Apostle Paul, think about this. Apostle Paul was a Hebrew of the Hebrews. He was of the strictest sect of the Pharisees, trained at the feet of Gamaliel, and he was on the fast track to be a leader among the Sanhedrin. As concerning zeal, he was persecuting the church. He was the Sanhedrin's poster child. They were all proud of him. Man, look at that Saul of Tarsus. Look at him chasing those Christians down like a bulldog. Go get him, Saul. And he was on the fast track to become a leader among them. In our culture, his 5-year plan would have been to be a leader of the Sanhedrin by age 30. And knowing Paul, he was probably ahead of schedule. And then God intercepted him, and the whole locomotion of his life turned 180 degrees on a dime. And he began preaching the very gospel that he had persecuted before. And his enemies became his friends, and his friends became his enemies. And in the circles where people had been bragging about Paul before, and they were envying Paul and saying, man, that guy's really got it together. What if you could be like him, huh? Rising star in Judaism, first century Judaism. In those same circles, they began saying things like, man, did you hear about Saul of Tarsus? The guy's gone over the edge. He's gone off the deep end. He's gone Jesus on us. And now he's joined the other side. And people shaking their heads and saying, oh man, he has blown it. He has ruined his life. He'll never make it into the Sanhedrin now. All of the hopes and dreams that he had, he has thrown his life away. The Apostle Paul said the exact same thing. All those things that were gained to me, I counted them but loss. Poor Paul ruined his life, has been. He'll be forgotten. He'll never be on the Sanhedrin now. Okay, tell me the name of anybody you know of that was in the Sanhedrin in first century Israel. Go ahead. Nobody remembers those people. Everybody's heard of the Apostle Paul. He was willing to give up his life, his aspirations, his goals, his plans. And when he gave them up, God gave him something far better. Had he hung on to them, he would have lost everything.